said it much for this album. Oh. What if your dreams don't come true at all? What if your dreams don't come true, Jude? What if your dreams don't come true? What if your dreams don't come true? What if your dreams don't come true at all? What if your dreams don't come true, Jude? What if your dreams don't come true? What if your dreams don't come true?
My name is Ernest, Rowan III.
Patricia and Rowan.
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri.
Born in Chicago, Illinois. I was there until I was about 5 years old. And then my family and I moved to St. Louis, Missouri, where I was raised in the city.
What are your parents' names?
Now, my dad's name is Ernest Rowan Jr. My mom is Marguerite Rowan.
My mother's name, Elsie Mae Toes. Dad's name, Leroy Toes. My mother's maiden name was Young. She was born in Arkansas. My dad was born in Mississippi. And they're both deceased now. Gone to glory.
What did your parents do for a living?
My mother and dad both had to stop going to school. Let's see, I think my mom she told me she made it to the 3rd grade, and my dad made it to the 2nd grade, and they had to stop their education so that they can go and pick cotton, work the fields to help their family, to support their family. So education was really important to them because they weren't able to be educated. So when my mom became an adult, she went to night school so that she could learn to read and write. And my dad was taught by his family members how to read and write.
What is success?
Everybody defines success different. Me, success is making it. I mean, you don't settle for less. You always have a goal you strive for. You'll never meet it, but it's that drive that keeps you going. That's success to me.
My definition of success, I think success is very subjective. And that simply means my definition of success is going to be different from anyone else's because it's personal. I think as individuals, we have to define success for ourselves. We have to sit down and say, okay, what is it going to take for me to feel successful? Once you decide that, then you can achieve. And you will feel like empowered and say, wow, I'm successful. Because what's successful for me is not going to be successful for someone else. So you have to feel that within yourself, what success is. Instead of striving, looking at your neighbors, trying to achieve the same things they have. You have to achieve it for yourself. My first vehicle, I paid $500 for it. I came up with the 300 and my parents came up with the 200, and it was a 1972 yellow Duster. I think it's a Plymouth Duster, and it was sharp.
The very first vehicle I owned was actually a blue Ford Pinto that your mom got. She used to walk you to and from daycare all the time, and an elderly lady seen her husband on the lot. She was able to purchase the Pinto. So
every day I would walk. We were living in, California, and I would have to walk up this hill. It was very steep, I'll never forget it. And what I had to do was push you, Charles, up this hill to get to the babysitter in order to come back down the hill every day and get on the bus and go to work. So every morning, I don't care what the weather was, there I was pushing you, rain, whatever it was, I was pushing you up the hill. And this Caucasian lady, I'll never forget it, would be sitting on her porch and she would say, "Good morning." And I didn't even know her name. I would say, "Good morning, miss, how are you?" "Oh, I'm doing well," she would say. And I said, I'm doing well too. She said, "Boy, here you go again. Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to work." And so I did that for a very long time. I can't remember how long, but it was a very long time. One day, this Caucasian lady came out and said, "You know what? My husband owns a car dealership." And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." I didn't put it together at all. And I said, "That is so wonderful." I figured she just wanted to talk because she was an older lady. And she said, "Well, I'm glad you think so, because I want you to go to his lot and pick out a car so you do not have to walk up this hill anymore with this baby." And I said, "Ma'am, you are so sweet, but my husband just joined the Marine Corps and we cannot afford a car." She said, "Oh, I already got that taken care of. All you're going to do is pick it out. You're going to sign a piece of paper for me, and you're going to make a monthly payment, whatever you can pay." So I went on the lot, picked out a blue Pinto, and I paid her probably $40, $45, $50 a month until I paid it off. And all I did was sign a little piece of notebook paper promising that I would do that, and I did. When I had my first child, I was 17 years old, which means I was 16 years old when I got pregnant. 16. And if you don't mind, I want to share a little bit about that. 16 years old, got pregnant. I think I was a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken, a sophomore in high school. And boy, that was the day we all had to sit down. Boy, we had a family meeting that day when everybody discovered that I was pregnant. And we sat down, and my sisters were there, and my parents were there, and the first thing came out of everyone's mouth was, "Oh, you don't have to keep it. You can just abort it and keep going." And I said, "Nope, that is not an option. That is not an option." And I mean, every week somebody tried to convince me to abort my child. And I prayed, and I decided not to, and that was the best decision I ever could have come to. And I had my child. I had a hard time at the high school at the end. Had lots of girls, wanted to fight me. Went through lots of things, lots of obstacles. So I decided, I think it was February before Charles was born, my baby, and I transferred to a alternative school. And at that time, alternative schools basically were schools with lots of pregnant girls. And so I went there for 3 months. Then I had the summer off, had Charles in August, and went right back to high school and completed. Didn't change anything in my life at all. Had to grow up quickly, but I had a great support system. So very young, but that doesn't mean the end of the world because you get pregnant. So just because you're pregnant, young ladies, that does not mean the end of the world. Does not. Could be challenging, but you hang in there, and it will get better.
Can you please discuss a story of a time where you experienced racism?
Wow. Let's see. Oh boy. Let's see. One day where I personally experienced it, I experienced it so often, unfortunately. But one day in my practice that I currently have, I had a young Caucasian lady come in, and she immediately, when she first came in, she assumed that I was the receptionist because she said, I need to complete my paperwork. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. Let me get that paperwork for you. And then once I gave her the paperwork, and she said, well, aren't you going to get my ID and everything also? And I said, oh, man, 1 second. Our administrator will be with you to take care of that. She said, well, who are you? Aren't you the administrator? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. I said, I'm Dr. Rowan. Nice to meet you. And I put my hand out. She said, what? Dr. Rowan? She said, oh, no. Oh, no. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in seeing you. And I said, oh. She didn't say it was because I was African American or because I was black. So that is my assumption. But she actually left, and she did not stay. And she just said, I am just not interested in seeing you. So I assumed that was a racist issue. But it didn't stop me. I'm still continuing to practice.
Racism. Here, America. I hate to say it. I've been all over the world. I have not once been called out of my name. But to my surprise, when I come home to the nation that I represent, fight for and live for, and don't get me wrong, I love America, I'm treated like a second-hand citizen. When you think of racism, short story, I moved to O'Fallon, Missouri. I pulled up to the service station one day. It's 8 pumps. I'm at 1 pump. Young lady pulls behind me and thinks that I should automatically move my vehicle out the way so that she can pull up and get her gas if I was going to one of the other pumps. And she called me everything that you could think of out of my name.
Sure can. When I was 7 years old, I ran outside the house, and I was going to the Mr. Salty. I'm sure some people out there may remember what Mr. Salty is. It's the soft ice cream cone. So I went over to Mr. Salty, got my ice cream, looked both ways, came back. As soon as I stepped in the middle of the street, a drunk driver hit me. And I went up to the light pole and then came back down. They described, my sisters and cousins and everybody described this accident to me over and over again. And boom, hit the concrete and broke every bone in my body. I had a body cast and was unable to go to school for a year. So I missed a year of school and had to go back that following year.
What makes a good friend? Well, when you say friends, everybody's not your friend. You can probably count your friends on one hand. If you have a true friend, you can only count them on one hand. Because that's a person you can rely on. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning, 1 in the morning. I don't care if they're on the other side of the planet. If you need them, they're there. No matter what it is, they're there for you. And they have the best intentions for you at all times. Yeah, I had the pleasure going to Iraq a couple of times. It was good. It just reminds you of what you fight for while you work and while you wear the uniform. Somebody did it for you, you return the favor, and you do it for the next generation. So hopefully they don't have to go through what you went through.
What do you do for a living?
I run my own private practice. I have my doctorate in marital and family therapy. My practice has a contract with the state children's division here in Missouri. And I try to keep families and marriages together. That's what I do for a living.
Can you talk about a few jobs you had before this one?
Absolutely. Before this one, I had lots of jobs. I started off in the banking field. For some reason, when I was younger, I always wanted to also get into the financial institution. I kept saying, I want to be a banker. My mom said, well, be one. And I said, okay, I'm going to be a teller. And so I started off working in the banking field as a telephone rep down in the basement of the bank. So I wasn't seen, I was heard. And it was awesome. I was a telephone rep. I think I stayed down there 2 months and they promoted me. And I ended up a teller upstairs. Started off at Marine Corps West Federal Credit Union. I still remember the name of it, at Camp Pendleton in California. And then from the teller line, I became a vault teller and then a supervisor. I think within a year I was a supervisor. I was promoted. It was amazing. And so I ended up staying in the banking field for about 16 years, became the branch manager there, and loved it, absolutely loved it. But began to see that my heart was in counseling and that I really wanted to go back and become a counselor. But I've had jobs such as, my first job was at an ice cream parlor, like the neighborhood ice cream shop. I was 13 years old, probably too young to work. So now I encourage everyone, don't work at 13. Wait. Don't work at 13, that's too young. But I started at 13, scooping ice cream, scoops of ice cream for people. And then from there I worked for White Castles. That was one of my early jobs. Flipping hamburgers. I also worked for the government. I had one of those work-study jobs in high school. So I worked for the government, doing some clerical work there. And that's about it.
Have you ever taught any classes at a university or college?
Absolutely. How did I forget that? I also adjunct at a university, a local university here, and taught a couple of courses.
What are the titles of those courses?
It was St. Louis University, and I taught family therapy, and I also taught assessments.
If you had to describe each of your children to a stranger, what would you say?
Each of my children to a stranger. It's pretty easy. All three of them athletic, but they all different. My oldest, I call him the ultimate dreamer. He had like 9 different ideas, and he stuck to every one of them. And believe it or not, he's been very successful at obtaining each and every goal he set so far. My middle child, she's the focused one out the group. She sets a goal, she's going to stick to it, and she's goal-oriented, and she's driven. The baby, or the youngest of the 3, he's the jokester. He's the easygoing out of all of them. He's the easiest going person you want to know. But if he set his mind to anything that he want to do, he will accomplish it.
To a stranger, I would say that my 3 children are uniquely different, but yet the same. Uniquely different. All of them are very artsy. Sometimes I look and say, man, where'd they get that from? Very artsy. My oldest son, Charles Anthony Rowan, is very artsy, very bright. He is an author. Oh my goodness, I've an author of 3 poetry books, and I'm very proud of him. So I would describe to the stranger that I have an older son that strives to excel in everything that he does. He has ran into brick walls, not little bumps and obstacles, but he's run into brick walls, and it seems like he's able to shake it off. Takes a while sometimes, because we all have to shake it off, but he shakes it off and he continues to strive. He is an artist in music, Again, he's an author. He's a college graduate. And boy, just look out for that name because you're going to hear it a lot. My middle child is another artsy person. Loves to sing, loves music, is striving to be a pediatrician, and just loves life. And my youngest child has had probably a very challenging time. He's currently 16 years old, but yet again, he is so bright, so bright. So I would describe him as saying that I always tell him, you're going to be my most successful child. And why do I say that? I'm not taking anything from my other two children, but that's what he needs to hear. And that's what it takes, because every day is a challenge for him right now, and he needs that motivation to hear me say, you're going to be my most successful child. So he's artsy also. So all of them are very artsy. They all love music, and they all have big hearts.
When Obama was elected in 2008.
Actually, when Obama was elected, I don't know. Like, everybody was like, they was overjoyed. Some people was ecstatic. For me, it was more shock than anything. Because first of all, I never thought I'd even see a black president. And that's unique in itself. However, once he was elected, it took a day or two for it to really set in and for me to really understand that we had a black president. But I was just proud. I was just proud because I wasn't there when Martin Luther King gave the famous speech, "Yeah, I was born." But I wasn't conscious enough to really understand what he was saying at that time. But for me to experience Obama being born, it was just like, I guess, Martin Luther King for my parents and my grandparents, Obama is for us today. So,
what was your reaction when Obama became the president of the United States of America?
Boy, I'll never forget it. When Obama became president, it took me back to the stories that I used to listen to as a little girl. My mom and my dad and my siblings would always tell me about the difficulties they had and how they never ever thought, these are the stories I heard, that someone black would be president. So every time it was time to vote, my mom would say, "We're gonna vote. I don't care." She said, "And we're gonna pray the next time someone black is gonna be on the ballot." But yet, every time we went to vote, I would go with my mom and sit there in that little chair and stools that they had for the kids. It was a ritual every time. There was never anyone black. So when Obama became president, oh my goodness, I don't know. It was hope. It was hope for our future. It was hope.
best advice I've ever received. I guess it came from my grandmother. She always told me, just like my father and my mom, you put God first, take care of your family, and as long as you value both of them, the rest of life will fall in line. It'll be a piece of cake. And it's pretty much true.
Do you have any advice for young black people who are struggling to stay positive in life? They just keep struggling. Any advice for the people who are struggling and just can't seem to find a way out?
You know what I truly, truly do, because I've been there at times where it just seems dark and gloomy and there is no way out. Every time you try, here's another obstacle. Every time you set a goal, you just can't seem to meet it. Do not give up. My best advice is do not give up. If you have to find someone to help you, a buddy or whatever it takes, do not give up. Our ancestors have fought for us to have better lives today. So we cannot give up. If you need help, reach out. Don't be too proud to get the help you need. When I talked about my education and my successes, trust me, I had a very difficult time. All kinds of obstacles, all kinds of challenges. When I took back in Hawaii, when I went back in 1999 and took the placement test, I scored so low on the math and English that I had to take 3 math classes, remedial math classes, before I got to college math. And those 3 classes did not count towards my graduation, but I did it. For English, I had to take 2 remedial classes before I got to college level English, but I did it because I just refused to give up. So I want you guys to sit down, pull out a piece of paper, write down what your goals are in life, and I want you to take baby steps, not leaps and bounds. Don't expect to have a doctorate degree in a day. It took me 10 years to get a doctorate degree, but yet I didn't stop. So that's my advice.
Do you have any advice for young black people who think that they're getting held back on succeeding? They think someone's holding them back. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I got a lot of advice for them. Don't think it is somebody holding you back. The only person holding you back is yourself. Don't make excuses. Don't settle for less. Always try to obtain whatever it is you out to set to do. Yeah, the road gonna be challenging for you to get there. Maybe you have to go a different route about doing it, but you can't obtain it and you can't do it. But as long as you have it made up in your mind and you set that barrier that somebody's holding you back, somebody's denying you something, or you feel like they owe you something, then you're cheating yourself. So the only person stopping you at that time is you. No one else but you.
That's a tough question. I don't think anyone is held back in any country, especially not America, from reaching their goals. I think that it is challenging for young black people, absolutely. But I think that, you know what, I don't think I know, because I'm a living product of it. We lived in the city. I was raised in the city of St. Louis. We moved very often. I went to various schools, lived in various school districts. And if I could make it, anybody can make it. So no, I don't think we're held back. I think that as a people, as a race, that we must keep our eye on our goals. We must. I don't care if we need to talk to our grandparents, sit down, pull out a piece of paper, create a mission statement for yourself. What do you want to do? But you have to keep your eye on the prize and don't compare yourself. So yes, it is very difficult for black people in America because racism is alive. But that will not keep you from reaching your goals once you set your mind to it.
In the Marine Corps?
When you're in the Marine Corps.
That's a good one. Philippines, Australia, Korea, Thailand, Japan. Let's see here. Man, there were so many. It's crazy. I can't even name them all. I went so many places. Indonesia, Singapore. That's just a few. I can't name them all. It's just pretty much you think of it. I got a chance to go there. And I played all sports. I'm a sports fanatic. Anybody that knows me knows that. I don't care if it's baseball, football, softball, hopscotch, anything you want to do. I'm competitive, and I'm going to try to beat you at it. My favorite sport, however, is football.
Yes, sir. And why is it your favorite?
It's competitive. I'm a competitive person, it's the team concept, yeah. But ultimately, when you out there, every man on that field has a job. And every man relying on you to do your job. And as long as you do your job, you're going to succeed, you'll win. If you don't, you want to do somebody else's job, you're going to have the team crumble. And most of all, it's aggressive, but it's a controlled rage. It's like, even when you're out there at full speed in contact, you still have to be under control.
How old were you guys when y'all got married?
So me?
Both of y'all, when y'all married each other, how old were you?
I was 20.
You were 20?
We were both 20.
How long have you been married?
That's an easy question, huh? 28 years.
How do you deal with difficult times in the marriage?
That's a good one. All times, they all different. It depends on circumstance and situation. But ultimately, you want to go about it the same way. You just take time to yourself, think about it, get your thought process on it, share with your spouse, listen to their side, and hopefully you come to a agreeable conclusion. It don't always work that way, because sometimes you agree to disagree. However, ultimately, you will find medium. And other than that, just turn it over to God.
What is one of your fondest memories of these 28 years of marriage?
One of my fondest? Wow. I got a lot of them, so that's kind of hard to say your fondest.
Okay, one of your fondest.
Oh, man. That's kind of like picking your top 10. I don't know. Well, actually, I guess the day I got married, we got married kind of different. Everybody had that big traditional blown out wedding. Well, we didn't do it that way. We went out to the courthouse, had a couple of friends down, we got married, and as it evolved, we knew we loved each other, but it just continued to grow. And then we did like our 25th anniversary. I guess that should be about my fondest memory. Everything we didn't do then, we did then. So everybody was here. So to me, I think that's my fondest memory outside of the kids being born. So, yeah.
Wow.
Boy, I agree. I definitely agree with Pete. We had a lot of fond memories. I would have to say that was definitely one of my fondest memories, also our renewal. But another fondest memory that I want to talk about was when we used to walk on the beach in Carlsbad. Again, it kind of goes back to spending time together. We used to walk on the beach every night after we got off of work.
Return to my list.
In
Yeah.
In Carlsbad, and this was we had Charles, but we didn't have Kiana and Ernest yet. And we would just walk on the beach and just spend valuable time together, just the two of us, and watch the sunset. That was one of my fondest memories, along in addition to the renewal, because that was a big day for me. 25 years, and I finally had that wedding that I did always want. So.
Your favorite thing about your spouse?
Oh, man.
Or one of your favorite things?
Okay, I have to say, boy, I have a lot of them. Number one is he is a supporter. He's very family oriented, and he's just a supporter. I don't care what we need, we have it. We were talking about that earlier today. I don't care what the kids needed through the years. He would make it happen. I don't care what I needed through the years. he would make it happen. And he puts himself last, something I'm still working on. He will not get himself a t-shirt.
That is funny.
Because he spends everything on us and wants to make sure that we're taken care of. So, I have to say that him taking care of me and loving me, no matter what, through all of this, ups and downs that we've had through the years, he's always loved me, regardless, and I've always known that he's loved me. So that has been my fondest memory. And him being a dad, he's been a good dad to our children, and I just thank him for that.
One of my favorite things about her, one, just look at her. No, in all seriousness, one of my favorite things about her, she's just goal-oriented. She sets her mind on what she wants to do, and she accomplishes it. Most importantly, she's just loving. She's opposite. Like everybody say, the yin and the yang. Everything that might be like my shortfalls are like her strengths. So it kind of balances me. So I guess she just give me balance.
Are you guys homeowners?
Yeah, we've been blessed to own a home. We live the American dream. We've been fortunate to have a couple of houses in our life, in our little short lifetime here. It's not like buying your own, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. I mean, renting, yeah, it's nice. But when you purchase your own home and it's yours, that's a feeling unbelievable. That's something everyone desires and everyone should experience and everyone should have.
I agree. So we do own our home. We've been blessed. We actually were 28 years old when we bought our first home. We said we wanted to buy our home and we didn't want to be old and have a huge payment. So we started young as homeowners and we worked together to do that. We could have never done it by ourselves. So if we weren't the team we are, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we put our little pennies together and we did it, and now we own 2 homes, and I thank God for that. It's a blessing.
Any advice to people who are married, how they can maintain their marriage?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say maintaining the marriage is to have fun, number one. I think we get caught up in life, and it gets busy, and the kids come, and boy, before you know it, we just get caught up in life and we forget each other. So I think maintaining your marriage means not forgetting each other and remembering date night and all that important stuff, and not just get caught up in the family, but spending time together too. I think that's what's important.
Date night. My favorite thing about being a drill instructor is the unique opportunity you have of getting young men from all around the United States, from the different states, different nationalities, different ethnic groups. They come to you on the depot to boot camp. From there, you strip those layers away. You get rid of the I syndrome. You teach them to become part of a team and function and work as a member of a team. You strengthen their deficiencies by encouragement. You build them up, and you teach them the overall team concept. There's no feeling more fulfilling than being a drill instructor and working with those pros and those recruits, because as they learn from you each day, you also learn from them each day, and that's the fun part, just to watch their maturity and their growth process from day one to the end result on graduation day. And from there, watching them grow throughout their careers and become better Marines, better leaders, and contribute to a solid team. And that's the United States Marine Corps.
Do you have any comments about racism?
Yes, I do. Racism is a nasty word. Everybody have their prejudices about certain things. You got your preconceptions on how you think of things, but racism is the word that I think we ultimately need to erase in society. No one's better than no one else. We all want the same things ultimately. We want better for ourselves, our children, and our loved ones. But I think the overall reason of why you experience racism is because that person who comes off on you in that hatred manner or that distasteful manner, they come to you in that way, or they come upon you that way because they see something in you that they wish they had, that they don't like, and they're envious, and ultimately they're jealous. Or maybe they think you had it better than them, or you have it better than they do. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you've earned that. But at no time should you ever disrespect a person or treat them less than you. I was here in Missouri. I've been like all around the world, and I've never ever experienced the racism I've experienced here. Think about it. Marine. I go to every other country. For the most part, I'm welcome. I'm treated fairly, and I'm treated as a human being. Imagine coming back to your own country, to your home state, and have people call you everything other than, or try to treat you less than. That's a hurtful feeling. Why? Because my skin color is different. Maybe I walk a little different. Maybe I look a little different. I might talk a little different. Does it make it right? No. Ultimately, I say end the nonsense. And we need to put a stop to racism. We can't move forward if we live in the past and we stay in the past. And that's about all I have to say on racism.
Let's see. Right out of high school, I went to Florissant Valley. So see, here's another example of how having a child at 17 didn't stop anything. Went right to Florissant Valley Community College in St. Louis. Went there for about 2 semesters. Then I went to Harris Stowe for a semester. Then I had to drop out because I had to work full time in order to help pay the bills. From there, I got married young at 20 years old and had to put college off for quite a while. Could not go back to college. We married in 1985, did not go back to college to 1999 to pursue my associate's degree.
What school did you go to receive your associates?
That was in Hawaii when we were stationed in Hawaii, and I went to Windward Community College. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was so proud. I had never been so proud to walk back in that school because I always knew that education was the key for blacks. I knew that. My mother constantly told me that. And this goes back to what I said from the beginning. My parents weren't able to get that education. So education was so important to them. And she would tell me every day, education is the key. You have to get your high school diploma. You have to go to college if you can.
What school did you go to receive your bachelor's degree?
I went to University of California, Riverside to get my bachelor's degree, transferred from Hawaii back to California. Then from there I got my psychology degree. It was a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from University of Riverside.
And what happened after that?
After that, I went to, after that I wouldn't stop. After that, I decided that I can do this. It's not as hard as I thought it was. And the reason why I made that comment is because when I was in high school, I was not a straight A student. I strived, I worked hard, and my grades weren't bad, but I didn't get straight A's. I had challenges. And so I always questioned, can I get a college degree? So I was so excited when I got my AA that I said, you know what, I'm going to get my BA. So then I went to University of California, like I just said, and then from there I went to Loma Linda, and I said, you know what, this is awesome. I'm going to get my MA. And I decided to get my master's degree. And I got it in marital and family therapy because it goes back to my family. We've always had so many issues and concerns, and I've always wondered, this is growing up, my family of origin, I often wondered why people do what they do. Just being raised in low socioeconomic areas and observing everyone, why do people do what they do? And so I wanted to go to school to help families and couples stay together. It seemed like it was so hard. All my sisters were divorced, and it seemed like it was so hard for families to stay together. So I wanted to find out, is there a secret? Is there a key? So I went and got my master's degree in marital and family therapy so that I can help families stay together.
Yes, ma'am. Did you stop there educationally?
No, I did not. I kept going. I became what they call me, a full-time student. They said, man, you're a career student. I said, I am. So then from there, I worked on getting my doctorate degree. So I am so proud to say, and I thank God that I have my doctorate degree in marital and family therapy. So I'm so proud.
We're going to conclude the interview. Is there anything else you would like the world to know?
What I want the world to know is life is hard at times. Sometimes it seems so dark and gloomy. But I want you to know, if you keep your eye on the prize, you really will achieve your goals. So hang in there, do whatever it takes, but keep your eye on the prize. Good luck.
I guess the only story I want to share with everybody is just stay positive, stay focused, keep your eye on the prize. Remember, this is America, and we the great melting pot for every nationality it is. Yeah, we may have our quirks, we might not always get along, but overall, we all strive for the same goal, and we all want the same thing. That's for everyone to have a house, for their kids to grow up and be productive citizens, and for to live as one on a level playing field. So until we obtain that, we're going to continue to strive to get there. And just remember, one nation, one fight, one country. America stay strong. Yeah, I do. You know, marriage is a union of two people. And don't take that lightly, don't take it for granted. When you ultimately ask somebody to marry you, if you're fortunate enough to be married or they agree to marry you, then cherish it. What I mean by that is, it's not about you no more. It's us. I mean, you're one. And you got to remember it that way. You can't do things the way that you used to do it. You can't do things just for yourself. You have to do things together. And as long as you do things together, I don't care how challenging times may become or how difficult they become, because you will face adversity somewhere during that marriage. When you face adversity, that's when you really got to put it together, and you got to trust in each other, believe in each other, stick together, pray together, and in the end, everything that seemed big to you at that time, you realize how small and unimportant it really isn't, and you'll succeed, and your marriage will be a success. So don't be so quick to just give in and give up, because times become difficult and challenging.
I agree. One thing I want to say is marriage is hard. It's challenging. It really is. And I am a big believer in a marriage that prays together definitely stays together. So prayer is number one, in my opinion. But don't give up. I agree with Pete. You're definitely going to run into obstacles. And I think the easy thing in marriage is to just give up. It's easy to just give up. So don't do that. Hang in there, because the dust will settle, and spend time together and have fun, and don't allow the world to dictate what your marriage is going to look like, because I think all marriages are unique. Just because your marriage doesn't look like the neighbor's marriage or doesn't look like your parents' marriage doesn't mean that it's not a good marriage. It's still a good marriage. You decide what you want your marriage to look like, and then you move forward with it. But communication is number one. You must talk about things. If we don't talk, then it won't be resolved. So hang in there, and you will definitely make it through. If we can make it through the obstacles we've had in our marriage, anybody can.
That's it.